What's up and welcome back? I'm John Stark from ActTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and today, you and I, we're more than meets the eye, which is a lot coming from a blind film critic, but this is Transformers 1. It's currently available on Paramount Plus, and it does have audio description. So we'll talk about it, which is nice. It's nice to have films like this that occasionally I didn't see, and I eventually it drops on a streaming service, and it's like, oh my god, audio description, great. Because I'm in the middle of like 1,000 screeners, and like it's like a barren wasteland. like apparently they think there's no visually impaired people in any of these voting bodies ever, which I find to be like just a shocking statistic. But Transformers One is basically last year we had uh the Ninja Turtles movie, which critics were like, oh my god, bold new vision, which translated into a TV show on Paramount Plus, which was actually pretty decent. I liked it. So now we have this like new version of the Ninja Turtles, and I'm kind of wondering, is that what we're doing with Transformers One? Because there already is like a Transformers show on Paramount Plus, and it has a very different vibe than this movie. But so I don't really know where they're planning on going with this, but it's basically like a prequel. Like in many ways, you could watch this and then watch the live action Transformers movies. Like, I mean, like it wouldn't completely line up because they throw some back history like throughout the live action franchises, but yeah, you could do that. This takes place before everything else, which is why it's Transformers 1. um, but it takes place on Cybertron. There are no humans, which is beautiful. I mean, great. We told an entire story, but everybody feels human here. And it's got like a stellar voice cast here. My God, I'm like I feel like I'm gonna forget people just because I was like Jesus. As I heard the names, I was like Chris Hemsworth, Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, John Hamm, uh, of course, Keegan Michael Key, who I definitely have to talk about. Um, it was Lawrence Fishburne. Um, yes, like a really sort of like wow, damn, damn. I mean, I recognized some of those voices, and I was like, huh. But the funny thing about John Hamm is that sometimes he has a tendency to sound like David Harbour, so I totally guessed wrong on that one. When he's like there is a very cross section, little tiny little road where John Hamm and David Harbour join forces, their voices, and they sound like the same person, but they could be brothers in the movie maybe one time. But um yeah, it's an interesting movie. We focus on these two mining robots. This takes place sort of like way before anything that you would have known. And we have Sentinel Prime is in charge, and everybody's mining, and they all are lacking all of these. Basically, all these robots are lacking the ability to transform. They were all born without and they've been told that that's part of their history. They're born without their chip that allows them to transform, so they're just kind of stuck in this one form, and they all have to mine. And um, there are the main two, Chris Hemsworth and Brian Tyree Henry, that are set forth on this journey to be more than meets the eye, which is literally what they say in this movie. There's a direct drop to that line. No, we want to show them we're more than meets the eye. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. It's so cheesy, but I love it. um, yeah, so um, they end up jumping into this race where they catch the attention of Sentinel and this, I don't know, arachnid thing, which is like, there's no way to spin her in a way. I love spin because she's arachnid. Get it? I didn't plan that one. That one's on. It's subscribe because sometimes I'm witty and I don't even know it. Um, so So the arachnid is like never remotely tried to present as not a villain. Every time she enters the room, it's like Satan. Satan has entered the chat. It's, she has no levity to her whatsoever. But like, Sentinel Prime comes in the room and he's like, "Yeah, man, you guys did great. We're gonna use you to inspire the others because productivity is up to 150% ever since you guys raced, and people see that they can be more, they can do more." That doesn't happen. They get thrown into a hole where they meet B, um, who hasn't quite figured out his name situation yet. Um, but uh, B is voiced by Keegan Michael Key, and this is where the movie gets bonus points. I'm sorry, but this is a spoiler. There is, and I'm not going to completely spoil it, but I'm just going to say there's a direct reference to Key and Peele here that fucking I died. Like, this movie for me was very sort of like mid for a while. I was like, oh, this feels like we're aiming at kids. We're gonna reboot. It's gonna be like a Nickelodeon show. And then they dropped that Key and Peele reference, and I was like, okay, so I know they write these movies and then they voice cast, but that definitely is a Key and Peele reference. So you either knew you were gonna have Keegan Michael Key before you wrote this, or you rewrote the lines. Like, one of two things happened, because that scene doesn't work if Keegan Michael Key is not behind. I mean, Jordan Peele could have said it, but he's not the one who says it in the Key and Peele sketch. But there's a very obvious for people. One of my, actually, I want to say my favorite Key and Peele sketch, which is why I caught it, because I was like, I'm dead. Hashtag dead. I think that might be my favorite moment in film this year. At least it's definitely my top 5 of films of moments this year. It just, like, after that I was just like, man, I just kept thinking about it. I was just, the movie was advancing. I'd be like, but that Key and Peele joke though, like, that's definitely there for adults because kids wouldn't get that. And Key and Peele has been around for a while, you know. So like the little kids who are coming here to watch Transformers 1 did not get that joke. They did not get that joke. But their dads were laughing. And they're like, "Dad, why are you laughing?" And they're like, "Because I watched Key and Peele." Um, yeah, so wait for that. Uh, wait, just in case you don't pick up on it, he has these little they're like mannequins, essentially, like mannequin versions. And when he introduces them, the name died. Anyway, so yes, back to the movie. Scarlett Johansson is another, because obviously they have to have, you know, they can't all just be dude robots. So eventually they pick up a woman to join them in the fight, and uh, they get this message that says, you know, it's like a distress message, and it kind of like rocks their world and all the history that they've ever been told. And what are they going to do with that message? I don't know. But they eventually it evolves into the story, puts best friends at odds, and eventually by the end of the movie, we get sort of like the oh yeah, that was a prequel. That's where these two sort of anchors to the franchise come from, and some of the others too. Like some of the others start getting names. They all have like these weird names, like B-54, you know, like uh, they all have like, you know, like they're not initially all named things like Bumblebee and Shockwave, you know, and so I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. I mean, it's the same thing that I felt with the Ninja Turtles movie, like, when people were like, "Oh my god, Mutant Mayhem," and I was like, "It's cool," and it's definitely not the worst Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, at all, but there were, like, a couple choices where I was like, "Mm," Like, I don't understand the Baxter Stockman thing. Like, that still blows my mind as to why they had to introduce like a brand new character voiced by Ice Cube. That's basically Baxter. Anyway, um, while they're making all these other deep cuts to all these like random Ninja Turtles villains. So Transformers avoids that, but it does kind of feel like it's a little it does feel a little, I don't want to say infantile a little bit in the beginning. It does feel like for a movie that I'd heard was, oh yeah, adults are going to love this. It takes a while to get to that. In the beginning, you're just like, and then I would say once they get dropped in the hole and they hear the message and you get that Key and Peele joke, you're like, okay, so they're also making this for adults. But in the beginning with the miners and everything, I was like, what are we doing here? And what is this story? Like, I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know the direction it was headed in. Um, so I caught up with it eventually, and there are definitely worse Transformers movies out there. Actually, in the grand scheme of things, I would put this on par with. For me, this is like about where Shia LaBeouf's first Transformers was, which means the entire Michael Bay catalog is below that because I think that series drops precipitously. However, I still would put Bumblebee at the top. I still think Bumblebee is the best Transformers movie. So Transformers 1 might be the second best. And that says a lot. Like, this is a lot. I did like the Transformers movie from last year. That's like around Transformers 2 in the rankings. I don't like ranking videos. They're just, my channel has a ton of videos already. But since you're here, I would say Bumblebee, uh, almost a tie between Transformers 1 and Transformers. They both have their pros and cons. I'm going to take back what I said, and I'm going to put Michael Bay's, because there's something a spectacle about it, too. When I saw that in theaters as a visual person, actually seeing a Transformer brought to life for the first time was pretty cool. Michael Bay's shtick just runs really, really thin fast after that movie. Um, and then Transformers 1 by like a hair. I love the voice cast here. I think it has an excellent voice cast. And then I would say Transformers Rise of the Beast, Transformers 2, Transformers 3, Transformers 4, and Transformers 5. I'm not going to give you their titles because you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's kind of where that's not counting Transformers the movie, which honestly I haven't seen, and it doesn't have audio description, so I can't put it in there. But so Transformers 1, it's gonna be the film. It's gonna be like Ninja Turtles, where people are like, is it going to take the fifth spot at the Oscars? Is it going to take the fifth spot? It just got nominated at the Astros as of my recording. So now you know about when I recorded this, because I'm not going to put this out the day I record. I watched too many movies. So who knows? Maybe it will. I don't know. But it's going to be like that fifth spot. It's vying for that fifth spot. This is not like a high contender. We've got some spots locked up. Wild Robot, Inside Out 2 definitely locks for nominations. And I would say probably Moana 2. And then it could be like Memoir of a Snail and Wallace and Gromit. Honestly, that's probably what it's going to be. But who knows? Maybe this will break it in. I just don't see Oscar voters going nuts for Transformers 1. I wish it did better at the box office. Excellent voice cast. The audio description here is really, it's not what I expected. But it's good, but it's not like mind blowing. Like, I definitely could have used more definition between these robots, but I feel like that in a lot of movies. I feel like actually B had the best. Bumblebee had the artist eventually known as Bumblebee. It's pretty obvious when he goes by B, like that's his name, because Bumblebee goes by B, but you're waiting for him to say Bumble because he keeps coming up with these other names for himself. Anyway, um, so yeah, when he comes into play, I thought his description was really well done. I thought obviously the spider looking uh, one is really well done, but then some of the others, our main two are just all right. So, yeah, it's a little bit of um, I could have used more differentiation between the main two. I think probably since they are sort of like the leads and they do go on to something greater, which is too spoilery for me. So, but some of the action sequences are done pretty well. There's a racing sequence that I thought was done okay. It's not necessarily the voice that I would have chosen for Transformers 1, but at the end of the day, I actually didn't mind it, which was weird because I was thinking, well, is this the right voice for an action film or is this the right voice for a kids movie? And since Transformers 1 doesn't entirely know whether or not it's either, you don't want too much of a voice aimed at a kid's voice, and you don't want too much of an action voice. Like I don't want to drop William Michael Redmond on a film that's largely aimed at kids, just with some adult humor in it. So it's sort of like the neutrality of it by picking somebody that you wouldn't normally theme either way. I recognize the narrator's voice. I'm struggling to place it. I want to say Adrienne Barbeau did this. Wouldn't have immediately picked her for Transformers 1, but sorry if you're not, by the way. That was just my guess. Um, and it ended up working out. So I actually didn't have a problem because I think this film is trying to be two completely different things that I would have picked two completely different narrators for. And sometimes you just have to throw down in the middle and be like, you know what? Neutrality. And I felt like neutrality was good. I actually didn't mind it. And with very few female voices in this cast, actually having a female narrator voice on Transformers uh, was a solid choice because she's not vying for a lot of screen time. Sometimes it feels like logically in a cast full of men you should pick a dude, or in a cast full of women you should pick a girl. That's not always the case. Sometimes that voice then gets lost in the cast, almost, if it's too much. And since really Scarlett Johansson and the Arachnid has such a weird sort of like voice modification on her thing that it's not really super feminine, but it's mostly dudes. This is it's mostly a ton of dudes. So, yeah, it was the right choice. I like it. I don't like this movie quite as much as the Ninja Turtles, which I think I gave an A- to last year. I'm giving Transformers 1 a B+. So, I actually rewatched all the Transformers movies leading up to this so I can have all the reviews out there. I already had Transformers Rise of the Beasts, so you can check those out and see what I thought about the other Transformers movies. This I should have dropped this the same day as the other Transformers. Some mega drop of six six reviews. Not the yeah seven. Sorry, Bumblebee. Um, yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I love you, and I'll see you guys on the other side.